Hey guys, good to see you on this Friday afternoon. I see Dria's here. She says she's glad to be able to make the broadcast on her lunch break. I should have cleared my throat before I got started. How are y'all doing today? Type 2 diabetic here. How long did it take you to see changes in your blood sugar? Did you ever have any problem with your A1C? Dria, I didn't check my blood sugar before this. I'd probably only done it a couple of times at all before this. And I never really kept up with my A1C either. My doctor told me initially when I first started this diet, I remember asking him about, or shortly before, I can't remember, but I remembered asking him about diabetes because my father had diabetes when he was about my age. And I had been concerned that it's just something I'm going to get. And he didn't seem to have a whole lot of concern for it, but my gastroenterologist seemed to indicate that I might be borderline pre-diabetes and also was concerned about non-fatty liver disease or non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, sorry. And those are the big things that I found out about that I wasn't really familiar with at all prior to seeing those doctors right around the time I started. And as far as blood sugar differences, I'm quite sure it used to be a lot higher than it runs on an average now. I've seen so many other benefits since then. I'm kind of jumping into these questions right away because, one, I value your time, and two, I've only got so much time to do this today. My wife will be back in about an hour, and she's got kids coming home, and then we got things to get ready to do for this evening. But I'm glad to be able to spend some time with you guys because I got to say, I have been really amazed at all the views that I've been getting a bump up on lately. I don't know if that's YouTube's algorithm helping me out a little bit again, or if it's just you guys sharing this information. But whatever it is, I'm thankful for it, and I'm thankful for you. So I wanted to be able to come in here because I was getting more comments than I could handle. And I thought, well, this might be a good way to talk to some folks about what's been going on with this fasting experiment that I'm now in my 6th week of. I'm currently a little over 24 hours in to my 6th 36-hour fast per week. I've been doing 4 days of feasting, 3 days of fasting. And when I say feasting, that just means I'm eating normal for the most part. But I've noticed that I'm wanting to eat less and less, which is, I don't know if it's good or not, but I eat when I'm hungry, and that's what I focus on. Let's see, Awkwardly Aware says, doing mostly carnivore from today until Christmas Eve, but honestly praying that I'll be able to continue until February. I just had blood work done. Everything was crazy. Your example helps so much. Well, I'll tell you, your blood work is going to look crazy to your doctor. It might look crazy to you because the ranges that you're going to see out there, and you can look up a lot of the carnivore doctors on this. Don't just take my word for it. I mean, I'm just some guy on YouTube that's going through this with everyone else. But I've done a pretty good bit of research on this. And if you're worried about things like LDL and maybe uric acid, there's a lot of great videos out there by Dr. Ken Berry, by Dr. Anthony Chafee, Dr. Sean Baker that address these issues, and they can address them from a way that is from a doctor's perspective. And of course, they're still going to tell you to always consult your health physician, your healthcare professional. But I mean, honestly, we're required to say that when we're talking in a public forum like this and we're talking about healthcare, because we gotta follow the rules at least as much as we can. And I don't know if I even always follow the rules because I don't know what all the rules are. I just try to stick to the truth and let the chips fall where they may. But when it comes to some of the numbers you're going to see with LDL and HDL and triglycerides, the best thing I can tell you, if your HDL is rising, if your triglycerides are going down, I wouldn't even worry too much about your LDL because there are some people whose numbers can be off the charts higher than they ever thought they would be, and they're fine. Their body is fine. You got to get down to the facts about where we got off track on this whole LDL thing, and it goes all the way back to Ansel Keys and a lot of the things that he was preaching that started from some Russian scientist that took a rabbit or some rabbits and started feeding them high amounts of cholesterol and eggs and other fats, saturated fats, to see how this would affect them, and then drew correlations to what happened to this rabbit for humans. And that's sort of the genesis of where we got off track with this whole lipid panel thing, because rabbits are herbivores. They're not made to eat meat anyway. And there's people out there that argue that humans are herbivores and that humans are carnivores and humans are omnivores. Look, all I know is that throughout history, we have a lot of people eating meats, eating vegetables, and there's no way to say, I think, based on the evolutionary science, whether or not we're one or the other. But I know one thing. 3 years of eating only meat has done wonders for my health, has done wonders for my HDL, my triglycerides. My triglycerides are 37 the last time I had them checked. I don't get them checked all that often anymore because honestly, I really don't care what the information says anymore. I know I feel better than I ever have, and that's the most important thing. But don't let these doctors scare you into taking medicine that might be dangerous for you until you research a little closer what you're looking at on these blood work numbers. As a matter of fact, I mentioned Dr. Ken Berry. He's got this book right here called Common Sense Labs, Blood Labs Demystified. I would certainly recommend you take a look at that because that's going to help you out a lot with being able to decipher some of the insanity, because these blood work numbers that we're dealing with a lot of times are based on a sick, unhealthy population, based on poorly founded research that was skewed for political reasons rather than for health reasons. And we've got to take this apart so that we can understand where we are. You know, it's a strange world I live in now where my health, I can't go online and just search for some information to find out what's good and what's bad, because everything is skewed by a narrative that doesn't have anything to do with health. Got to make sure I haven't skipped any super chats or anything. I should have it set up to pop up if you guys use something like that, but I've had some troubles with Streamlabs, so please forgive me if it doesn't pop up immediately. Let's see. And I try to address everyone's questions, you know, even if it's, but I mean, obviously, if you're putting your money where your mouth is, I'm going to give you a bump up in the line. CC Shadow says, I had a piece of pecan pie and it does indeed make you feel tired still a bit. And the weight loss stopped for about 5 days. 100%. As a matter of fact, it can last a lot longer than 5 days. I remember there were times when I've had departures from my way of eating, especially like after when my stepfather died last year. I ate like a whole tub of ice cream because I was just feeling depressed and I felt like that was going to make me feel better. Boy, was I wrong. Not only did my kidneys feel like a couple of rocks in my back the next day, but I mean, it stayed with me for about 3 weeks. I just felt sluggish and awful. And for those of you who have been watching, you may already know that on Thanksgiving, I took a departure again. I mean, it was one of those things that I don't make any excuses for. I'm as human as anyone else, and I made the decision to do it. Now I got to live with the consequences. And I tell anyone else out there, it's not worth the consequences. Once you get this poison out of your body, putting poison back in, when you've gotten it all out, it's going to hit you like you just took a strong poison. And here I am 1 week and 1 day after eating 3 different pieces of pie, after having a ribeye for breakfast and a ribeye for lunch, thinking that I'm going to be able to push through and start my fast. Just totally broke it when I saw those dessert plates come out. And I'm still suffering from it today. I've noticed that my blood work numbers, when I check them on the Keto Mojo, I got it right here. As a matter of fact, I was going to check it again while we're on the stream. But I've been noticing that my glucose levels tend to stay a little higher all week long, even when I'm just eating meat. My ketosis level has been low or out of ketosis in most cases than it has been. And I don't imagine that my blood sugar it would be affected by that a week later. But I will say that it's a possibility that has to do with how much insulin is allowing those things to get in, and the fact that I'm not staying in ketosis like I was on the first 4 weeks of doing this, it definitely has an effect. And at the end of the 8 weeks of my doing this fasting, I'm going to cover all of the blood work numbers and not the blood work numbers, but the blood glucose and ketone numbers, so that we can take a look and see how everything was affected throughout this 8-week period. Chris Garcia, the guy that turned me on to the Chicago packing meats or meat packing company's Wagyu beef tallow. My God, man, that was some good stuff. I've been looking into beef tallow. I had some people say that stuff's horrible for you. I'm sure they're coming at me from the perspective of the fact that they feed these cows a lot of grain, and I can understand that. But as much as I love a good regeneratively farmed, grass-fed, grass-finished beef, and I still buy cows that way, I do still eat a lot of store-bought beef because it's almost impossible to live completely off of grass-fed beef and be affordable. And also the farmer that I buy from is not always readily available to provide me with a cow as quickly as I need them. I don't dissuade anyone from eating regular beef. I just say that if you can get the grass-fed beef, if you can get it done the right way, to go that route. But there are some benefits to that tallow that I've been researching. The monounsaturated fats tend to have some health benefits, even according to Dr. Baker in a video that I watched, and he seemed to be the only one that commented on this beef tallow. But thank you for recommending that, Chris. It has been a real treat using that as I've been doing my higher fat version of this feasting part of my fasting and feasting this past week. But Chris says, yo, Dante, question for you. Do you flip the steaks at all on the Power XL combo grill when using the stainless steel rack? Yes, I would prefer to flip them about halfway through because it does give it a much crispier exterior when you're doing it that way. And if you're cooking them from frozen, oh boy, does it get a crispy exterior. Got lots of videos on that you guys can check out. Big D says hello. Tony Morris says hi from Westminster, Maryland. Mama Cracker says good afternoon, everyone. MG4, lion diet since January. At 60 years old, feeling better than when I finished basic training in the 80s. Thank you for the encouragement from Texas. You are welcome, MG4. Simon says hello from the UK. Appreciate you being here, Simon. Mr. Synock says, doing good here in Oklahoma. Happy holidays minus the pie, 100%. As a matter of fact, I got a new t-shirt in the merch shop that says Meaty Christmas on it, and it's got a Christmas tree with a bunch of little ribeyes hanging from it. I thought it was a cool idea as something that you can use when you go that just reminds the folks that you're going to be spending time with. I'm trying to stay on track. Please try to help me. Richard Gleason, very kind words indeed. In my opinion, the best carnivore channel on YouTube. Very kind words. Thank you. Scott Barley, my good friend, finally made me one of your lives. Happy Friday. Hello from Long Island, New York. Good to see you again, buddy. Let's see. How do you say this one again? I can't remember. There was a trick to saying this. Primal Mike says, hi, family. Good to see you, Primal Mike. Craig Smith says, you inspired and semi-retired Bob. Can you join his live in an hour? It's not going to work out for my schedule, but I will definitely reach out to semi-retired Bob and see about getting together with him sometime. You know, I'd like to do a joint live stream with some of these folks. I know you've seen me on a couple of shows with like Dr. Baker, and you've seen me on with Rena over at 5 Minute Body, and I've had Carnivore Soldier on the channel before. I've had a couple of other carnivore influencers. I don't have as much time for watching YouTube as I have for producing for YouTube, but I do the best I can to get to know some of the folks out there because, you know, as I've been expanding my knowledge, looking into their stuff, it has helped me out a lot to have some insights that go beyond my experience. And I've been using those insights to hopefully get myself better prepared for something that I've been meaning to do for a while now, to do some kind of coaching option for people, because I know there's a lot of you who want to talk to me directly, and that's why I offer these live streams for now, to be able to give us a chance to get together and talk. Big D asks, do you eat chicken? No, I don't. Not just because it's not a ruminant animal and I stick to ruminant meats only, but also because after many months of eating only ruminants, I find chicken to be detestable. I find pork to be fairly bad too. There was a period where bacon got me back on board, but bacon is often cured with sugar. And of course, I'm a sugar addict. It's very easy to fall into that trap. But I tend to avoid anything that's not a ruminant. About the only thing I'll eat on a regular basis, when I say regular basis, maybe once a week or two, actually, I'll have some eggs because eggs are loaded with some good stuff. But I have to have pasture-raised eggs when I do that, because when I eat grain-fed eggs, it just makes me have reactions that are not comfortable. I get like hot flashes and feeling flushed and sometimes stomach pains. Tom Shuck says, I'm starting with keto and working my way to carnivore, and I never felt better, down 4 pounds within 5 days. Never feeling better? That's the key right there. Don't even worry about what your weight's going to be. Stay away from that scale if you can, Tom, because it's gonna fool you. It's going to make you think that you're not making progress when you are, because you're probably going to start putting on more muscle, eating all this protein, as opposed to eating all the junk that your body's used to eating. It's going to start using that building block material that you're eating to start building your body back up. And then you might see the scale bump up if you're checking it too often. And then you might feel a little bit down about it, start eating things you shouldn't. So try to leave the scale alone, maybe once every 2 weeks, maybe even once a month. If you really want to track progress, though, you can measure yourself and then keep up with those type of things. Primal Mike says, today's my 30th birthday, thriving on carnivore for 7 months and on Lion's diet for nearly 6 weeks, celebrating later with 3 pounds of fatty meat, salt, and water. Don't get me jealous. 24 hours into this fast, I'm already ready for some steak. Mama Cracker says, perhaps you're getting more likes because more are joining the carnivore way. Hey, that sounds good to me, because that's the reason I keep doing this. It's not about me having a channel or me having any type of celebrity or whatever it might be. I am just a regular guy. I still work a regular job. I get a little tickled when I went to KetoCon and had people asking me to sign autographs. It was the strangest feeling, but at the same time, I'm thankful for people being that interested to watch this channel, to spend time sharing this information with people, because my goal is to help more people get the right information, to get to the truth, and to get healthy, happy, because I just like living in a world with healthy, happy people. Feel like crap on sad diet. Absolutely, Big D. Mr. Synock wants my view on dairy and pork. I've mentioned pork already. Dairy, I had a small escapade with dairy at the beginning of this year because I kind of let it creep into my head. Oh, it's an animal product. I can go ahead and have it. Lactose, though. Lactose, anything ose in the end, it's basically sugar. And boy, was I like loving that whole milk for a while. But after I put on about 15, 20 pounds doing that, I said, you know what? Maybe I don't love this milk so much after all. It was just that sugar addiction kicking in. Now, there are some people out there that say that raw milk will give you a much better advantage over your regular milks and things like that. There are some hard cheeses that are good for some people. I find that whenever I eat cheese, it doesn't really agree with me. I don't do well with dairy. As a matter of fact, what my research has uncovered is most people really don't do well with dairy. And really, dairy products are made for growing babies. They're made for children. They're made for young animals. They're not made for adults. But there are cultures that have thrived on dairy. But it really just depends on your individual goals and your individual response to it and how well you can regulate it, I think. Neuters says, hi, Dante from Wisconsin. I've been carnivore 4 to 5 months and lost 44 pounds off all meds and feeling great. Thanks for the inspiration. That's awesome. Off all meds. That's got to be a blessing. I mean, I know what it's like when you leave the doctor's office and you don't have to get a return appointment. That was a banner day for me when I left, and I was like, when do I need to come back? Oh, well, why would you need to come back? Hey, yeah, that's great. I don't have to come back because that's something that I was getting settled into before this way of eating. And now I go to the doctor when I have some sort of acute care problem. Very rarely do I have those anymore either. I don't have any chronic issues for them to deal with. Tom Shuck says, my sugar has been 150 even with no carbs. I'm thinking my liver is putting out sugar until I get into ketosis. Well, that's a very good possibility because your liver does produce glucose. So, I mean, it's going to take you a while if you're new to this to get fat adapted anyway, where your body switches gears from thinking about converting sugar into energy and now converting fat into energy. Sean Baker is the man. I am very happy to have been able to meet and work with him before. I invested in Revero early on too, so I'm very glad to be a part of what he's doing over there because he's trying to bring the principles of carnivore living into the mainstream and bring it to where it's a normal health situation so that, like I mentioned earlier, you can't go online and search for information about this except maybe here on YouTube or Rumble or some of the other places. But hopefully Revero is going to be a leader and a trailblazer into making those changes. Simon says he's been a carnivore for 4 weeks, but finding it hard to sleep at night. You know, that's interesting. I actually found it easier to sleep early on when I started doing this, but I found that I didn't need as much sleep early on. I was able to get 4 or 5 hours and I was ready to go. After about a year and a half, 2 years of doing this, I finally got to where my body started wanting 7 hours of sleep again at night. And that's where I am now. I will say that, you know, if you were having trouble sleeping because of snoring or because of insomnia like I was before, being able to fall asleep at night was a miracle for me. And now when I go to bed, when it's time to go to sleep, my head hits the pillow, I'm out. And when I wake up in the morning, my eyes open for the day, I'm ready to go. You know, there's days where I got a little bit of fogginess now still, but it's not like it used to be where I was just dragging all day long. And that's the food change right there. Carnivore Cure says, Dr. Sean Baker gave me and Lindy a shout out when he was on the Joe Rogan podcast. I saw that. That was good. Eric Bischoff, question. Did iodine really help with energy and other things? I feel like it did. It's always hard to really put a finger on what's going on when you're dealing with supplements. But I have continued to use iodine for over a year now. And because my TSH was a little bit high, that indicated my thyroid was under some stress there as far as not being able to produce the right amount of hormone. It wasn't outside the normal range, but it was still on the high side of it. And I also did a patch test to check my iodine levels. I did a urine loading test, and I found that adding iodine has been quite beneficial overall for my hormone health. I also noticed that my testosterone levels normalized shortly afterward. I'm not saying it wasn't because of the carnivore way of eating, but I do know that eating all that ultra-processed garbage is very much a big factor in adjusting our hormones. That's why kids enter puberty so much earlier now than they used to, because all of that insulin telling your body to grow and do things switches things on before they should be on, and it switches them off when it comes to things like your hormones being producing right, because your body can't absorb glucose properly, causes mitochondrial health problems, and your body starts breaking down, and then your hormones aren't functioning properly. The thing about iodine, though, is you want to check and see what your thyroid hormone level is. You want to get a blood test for that. You'll want to check and see some of these tests that I mentioned. I've got videos talking about the iodine, and even where I ordered it, I think it was at Halal Labs or something like that. And I did the iodine loading test where it does the urine over a 24-hour period and measures the amount of iodine that's remaining afterward and kind of determines whether or not your body's soaking up the iodine or not. Because if you're not soaking it up, obviously it doesn't need it. But if you're soaking it up like I was, it told me that I did need that iodine. Hey, Matthew. Yeah, I have a lot of emails, brother. I'm trying to get through them, and I'm also going through a lot with still finishing up moving into this house. I'm changing jobs right now. I still got the channel to run. I try to spend as much time with my family as I can. But if I haven't gotten back to you, I will do my best to get back to you soon, Matthew. Thanksgiving has destroyed my carnivore journey. Well, you can fix that. All you got to do is get back on track, brother. I know it's easy to say, just say no, but ultimately that's what it comes down to. You've got to decide, do you want to eat poison or do you want to eat what's good for you? Exactly, Carnivore Cure. Thank you, Elm City. I can't wait for you to be able to do that either. I'd love to hear from you. Hey, Luke. Good to see you, buddy. Ron had you on lockdown. Oh, okay. Let's see here. Sheila B. Luke was a friend of mine from Georgia. You're getting more likes because your videos are very good, always contain a wealth of knowledge. Awkwardly Aware says, thanks for sharing that. Lag says, hi. Oh, Eagles. Michael, Ferrigno, please, how long did you take blood pressure medicines after you started carnivore? About 30 days. And I don't remember exactly when, but it was shortly around that period that I stopped because my blood pressure was dropping too low and I was feeling woozy. So I stopped, and then I talked to my doctor about it. He agreed that was a good idea, and he took me off the medicine. That was probably 90 days in, somewhere in there. It was within the first 125 days because I talk about it in my first video. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. Sam is here. Sam, he likes to get his rest. He loves that mat back there. But he's a carnivore too, and he loves it. Chrissy Bird says, hi from New Zealand. Question from Elm City Carnivore. Is that the same dog you inherited while walking? Yes, it is. That is Sam. Carnivore Crusaders here says, hello all. All right, let's see. Matthew says, I just got my blood work and my LDL and triglycerides were a little high, but I've been on carnivore for 2 months. How can I lower the LDL and triglycerides without statins? Well, my experience has told me that eating this way did both. Now, my LDL didn't really get lower, but you've got to look into how LDL works before you get worked up about it. Again, I would encourage you to check out some of the videos by Dr. Berry, Dr. Baker. There's several of them out there, Dr. Anthony Chafee. They talk about LDL, and do your research on what Ansel Keys used as his hypothesis to come up with the reasons that LDL was such a concern. Statins ultimately, as talked about by these doctors, can reduce your LDL, but ultimately they produce a form of LDL that's actually more harmful for you. So you might want to really research statins before you let a doctor put you on those. But you've got to decide. Just remember, when it comes to your doctor, you're the one in charge. Ask questions. If he doesn't want to answer questions, you need to find a doctor that's going to work with you. As for triglycerides, I eat fat, I eat meat, and my triglycerides are amazing. I don't know what your triglycerides and LDL were before, but you may be a hyper responder. You might have a higher increase, but there are guys doing this way of eating whose LDL numbers are 300 plus, and they're still in excellent health. And there have been people that have had CACs done, the carotid artery scans, and they're zero on their scan. There's no plaque buildup in there. And that's because the information we're going on, all of this stuff that has been around for 50 plus years, telling us about the dangers of LDL and red meat and fat and cholesterol, it's all been politically biased. Joe Myrtle says, hey, Dante, we all make mistakes. The goal is to move on and learn from our mistakes. Exactly. You give me and others inspiration daily. Keep it up. Do some sprints to use your body's glucose, says Jan. I've been looking at that. Sprints looks very interesting. Maybe after this fasting thing, I may give sprints a try because I wanted to, like I said, I've been trying to work on this area here. And there was a recent video on Rena's channel where she was talking to a doctor that I've seen before. I just can't think of his name right now. And he uses sprinting for optimal health. And the beautiful thing about sprinting is you can do it in a very short period of time, get that heart rate going real fast. And if it works like he says it does, it's great for visceral fat too. I take iodine every day. Oh, Drea says there's a super chat. Let me scroll down and make sure. I don't know why they're not showing up. This Streamlabs thing ain't working like it used to. I guess that was it. But thank you, Drea. I appreciate that. Let's see if I can find out where I was now. Oh, here we go. Oh, that was the super chat. That explains. Dutch Carnivore, any changes in body weight during the recent fasting, up or down? I'm still about 10 pounds down from where I started. I was at 197 when I started. I was 187 when I checked yesterday, I believe. But that fluctuates. It's gone down to 184. But I'm also doing a lot more of my push-ups and curls, and I'm doing squats again. And I'm doing these things until as long as I can possibly do them. What do you call it? Until fail. And boy, has that been really working those muscles. The first few times, man, I was worn out afterward. But I find that it's great because I get it all done in a short period of time, kind of like sprinting, and get my breathing up, get my heart pumping better, and it seems to be working out. So I think I'm actually maintaining more body muscle as a result of adding that in. And I think it's an important part of when you're fasting is to make sure you're doing some resistance training like that so that you tell your muscles, you tell your body, hey, my muscles are being used right now. I need you to prioritize those for energy. And then it's going to look for other stored areas of energy. I'm not saying that it's a computer program, but that seems to be the way our body works from all the research I've been able to do. And, a lot of this calories in, calories out stuff treats us like we're some sort of calorimeter or something like that. And that's just not how our body works. Our body doesn't work like the models that have been used for so long. But when your body adapts to things like crazy, even adapts to a carnivore way of eating, and it can make it easy to maybe put a few pounds back on like I did, even when you're still sticking with it that way. But yet, I have no complaints about that. I've known a lot of people that have put on a few pounds after they got down to what was their lowest weight ever. I'm still at my high school wrestling weight, and I never, ever thought I would be at this weight. I'm actually a couple of pounds under right now. So I have no complaints when it comes to that. I would like to have that nice six-pack abs because I never had it, and I always wanted it. But, it's not that important. It's just something that I would like to be able to say, hey, look, I was able to do it. But it's not about me showing off to anybody except maybe my wife. But I have noticed that I've been able to maintain a healthier weight. And I've been keeping track of pictures of the gut area that I have where I've put on a few pounds. And at the end of the 8 weeks, I'll be covering that too. I'm not real happy about showing them, but it is what it is. And I'm going to share the good and the bad with you guys. Don't you worry. Okay. What are your top 3 to 5 points to give someone who is showing desire to try carnivore? I'm specifically wondering what to tell my male family friend. With women, I know what to say. Okay. One of the biggest things I would say for men is if you're having any testosterone issues, if you're having low T, I've heard some people say that it's the opposite, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you're eating ultra-processed foods on a regular basis, they are driving your testosterone down. And it's one of the reasons why erectile dysfunction and low T is such a common thing these days. When you get that junk out of your system, like a carnivore way of eating will do, you will see an improvement in your hormones. You may need to supplement some iodine like I did. You may need to look into that because you might have some thyroid damage. 48 years of eating the wrong way did a lot of damage to my body. So not everything is going to happen immediately, but that's a very strong possibility that they're going to see an improvement in their testosterone levels. I was on testosterone when I first started doing this. I had been on it for years before I started doing this because I had erectile dysfunction, and it was very frustrating, but I don't use it anymore. It's been over a year since I've had any, and my testosterone levels were normal the last time they were checked. And I feel normal. I feel strong again, and I don't have any of the issues that I had before, and it's wonderful. Some other things, let's see, you said 3 things. Well, being able to get that body that you always wanted to have is a possibility. I never thought I would get down to 189 again. I mean, when I did Atkins diet back in the 2000s, I got down to 214 and I was tickled pink, but I was still eating some things that weren't as healthy. And you could see in my face that I wasn't fixing the insulin resistance problem that I've been able to fix a lot of doing a carnivore way of eating. And then that would be the third thing, is that the insulin resistance problem is what causes almost all of our chronic disease. I have a video talking about the insulin resistance, a book that I reviewed not too long ago. Insulin resistance makes all of our organs overloaded with insulin so that they don't allow glucose in, which causes cell problems. Our mitochondria doesn't get the health that it needs to power our cells, and then your organs start overgrowing. You get things like your enlarged prostate. You get other enlarged organs that are not good for you. And being on a carnivore way of eating reverses that kind of thing. Being on a keto way of eating can help with that. So I'm not going to say that this is the only way, but getting all that sugar out of your life, getting the ultra processed foods and the seed oils out is certainly going to help reduce all of this stuff. And probably the fourth thing is, why would you not want to eat meat? I don't eat salads not only because I don't want them, but because they don't have any benefit for you. It's like starving with something in your stomach. You know, if they've ever done a diet, they're used to eating that stuff. And if they want to get away from it, try showing them a nice ribeye and saying, this is what you can eat every day. And you can be healthy and happy again and get that brain fog out, get rid of that anxiety, get rid of that depression that's been causing you problems, because all of this stuff that's in our food enhances those problems that we were having. Because I still get the pressures that everybody gets in life, but anxiety and depression are at bay now. They're not a problem for me anymore. I can get down about things. I can look at the world and think, man, when is anything going to start going right? But I'm able to function now, whereas before it was causing problems. It was causing problems in my marriage. It was causing problems where I contemplated things like suicide, things that should not have been in my mind and are no longer there now because I switched to a carnivore way of eating. I know I spent a lot of time on that one, but I wanted to be able to address those because I think there's probably a lot of people out there who are trying to encourage others to do this. And I would encourage you to wait for people to ask. Nobody wants to be preached to about this, but if you're showing by example what this diet can do, some people are going to ask. And I have been thrilled to see people that I grew up with switching to a carnivore way of eating and getting their health together. And now starting to see my wife come on board like she did early on. And now she's realizing I have just got to stick with it. So it's encouraging, but it takes time. It took 3 years for my wife to really realize that this is something that she needs to do too. People need that why moment before they're going to do this. And a lot of people just don't have that yet. And they're addicted. You know, when you're addicted to sugar, if you're addicted to anything else, you need a reason to quit it. And it takes a big why for people to even come to that conclusion that that's something I want to do or I need to do. I see the peach fuzz coming out on your head. Is it coming in thicker than before? I'm glad you asked. I meant to talk about that. I do still have the bald spot there, but I've noticed there's a lot more hair in there than there used to be. There's little bits of hair where it was just completely bare before. So it does seem like it's coming in a little better, but I still got a bald spot. You know, it didn't have a miraculous change and all of a sudden I've got hair again. But I've been losing my hair since about 2011 at the very least, because when I go back and look at pictures, that was the last one I saw. And used to be when I would take pictures of myself, anything where it showed my bald spot or even my waistline. I used to deleted those pictures anyway because I didn't want to see them. So I don't have as much evidence to go back and look at. I even took a picture of the first time I finally admitted it was a bald spot, and I wound up deleting that shortly afterward because I didn't want to see it anymore. And that was about the time that I decided, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and shave it. I had decided years before that I was going to go ahead and shave it. But I've been letting it grow back since I got a few weeks between my last job and my new job, just so I could see if there's been any changes. I still got plenty of gray, especially on the sides. I got my gray wings just like I had before. I still got the bald spot, but it does seem to have more hair because there used to be this big patch where I felt nothing at all. And now there's little hairs all in that area. So that's encouraging, but it's anecdotal evidence at best at this point. Boy, am I ever, Drea. It's possible, Michael. I got to say that I am not a huge supplement fan. I use the very few, the least that I need based on what my blood work shows and things like that. And so far, iodine, vitamin D have been the only two that I've really focused on. Now, I have been using DHEA because of a recommendation from somebody, and I wanted to see if there were any positive effects. The fact that I'm growing hair back could be one of those benefits of using DHEA. It's been a little over a month, but I really try to keep the supplementation down to a minimum. I do use Relight, Redmond Relight for my electrolyte mix. I usually have about one a day. If I'm really active that day, I may have it twice. I do still occasionally add salt to my water, which some people wouldn't say is a supplement because it's something that our bodies need anyway. But I guess when you're adding it to water, I think you kind of look at it as a supplement. But it's essentially the same thing you're buying when you buy an electrolyte drink. And this way I don't have to pay all the expense of buying little bottles of electrolyte mix that are already mixed into a drink and paying extra for those. But certainly omega-3 would be good for you. It's just whether or not when you take it, are you just peeing it out? Most supplements ultimately just result in expensive pee. Yeah, he is snoozing today. He's been a little lazy lately. I think it's the weather change. Now he's right up here next to me. Hey, Sam. He's enjoying his snooze. But it just got cold here in the past week. When it's cold for Florida, it's in the 50s. But it gets a lot warmer during the day. But still, I know, it could be because of the Thanksgiving meal I had or the dessert that I had after my Thanksgiving meal. But I think the weather does play a big role because my wife has felt more sluggish. My kids have felt more sluggish. The dogs seem more sluggish. I think the weather change has a big factor on it. Plus, being here in Florida, where it can swing from 50 to 88 degrees throughout the day, back and forth, that hot to cold can be rough on a person sometimes. Thinking about KetoCon next year, is it worth it? Seems pretty expensive. I'm thinking about going too, but I'm not 100% sure I'm going to go. I think it has benefits if you're wanting to maybe see face-to-face some of the people that you've been watching, but most of the information is going to be available online. It really comes down to if it's something you're interested in doing. A lot of the vendors there are selling stuff that you don't need to be able to do anything that supports this lifestyle, and that's probably not going to be a good way for me to get invited back, but it's the truth. And that's what I'm going to give you. It really just comes down to, do you want to be able to meet some of the folks that have changed your life, to be able to thank them face to face, to be able to sit in an audience and listen to them talk about something that you could watch on YouTube, probably later on their channel or on some other channel. It might be fun to see some of the vendors and try some of the stuff, but ultimately I found most of it to be a waste of time. But I still like the idea of carnivores getting together, supporting one another, encouraging one another. Seeing groups of people like that can have a benefit when you feel like you're all alone and you're with family members and friends and you don't get any support from them on this. Having that group to get together with can have a tremendous benefit. You just got to weigh, is it worth the cost to you? All right, Carnivore Cure, if you haven't sent me an email about it already, send me one and I'll see what we can do about getting together. Mama Cracker says, happy birthday to Primal Mike. My family's diet has changed tremendously, partially because I don't buy nearly as much junk as I used to, and my wife has steadily been getting better at not buying junk. Although it's tough when you're dealing with the kids because it's so much a part of their lives, especially if they're in school, because all the stuff they give to the kids in school is awful. And then they're just so used to eating junk food. They're used to eating fast food. They're used to partaking in Halloween and eating all the junk that happens at birthdays and Christmas. And it's such a part of our lives. It's really hard to break free from, but it has made a difference. That we don't have sodas in the house anymore. That's a heck of a benefit. I don't see a whole lot of cookies and crackers and cakes and all the stuff. We used to go back and look at my countertops in that first video I did. It was covered with food garbage stuffs. Now there will be some occasionally because my wife just hasn't gotten 100% on board yet, but it's one of those things that it has been a slow progression. It's getting better and better. And really that's all you can ask for because they're addicts. Like I mentioned before, it's hard to break free. You got to have a why reason and it takes time. I save the most money traveling on Carnivore. Tomorrow I drive 8 hours, prep burgers, bacon, boiled eggs. Absolutely. Eating out, you're usually paying double to triple or even more in some cases for what you're getting out there. You know, there's always a thing about eating out that comes to the social aspect of it. And there are ways to get food that you can eat when you're eating out with friends and family. But you got to be real selective. You got to get to know the people that run the kitchen. Ask them, are they spraying the grill with vegetable oil? Are they spraying the steaks with vegetable oil? If those things affect you, you're going to want to know that. Some carnivores aren't affected by some of these things. They'll use olive oil and other spices on their steaks and burgers, and they're just fine. For people with gut problems like I had, and you're doing lion diet, you may need to curtail some of that stuff. But I did an interview with a couple of ranchers not too long ago. The guy that I buy my cows from, as a matter of fact, Big Mo, and his son, and together doing a standard carnivore way of eating, and they eat out often. They've been able to lose combined well over 200 pounds now, and they're feeling the best they have in years. I think I've already addressed that one, Billy, but I will say that I'm down 10 pounds on average right now. I've been lower since doing it too, but it fluctuates, but I'm doing a lot of exercise. Mama Cracker says 15 years ago, my son went cold turkey off all gluten, so I bought 3 chickens and let them mow the yard for the great orange egg yolks. Overcoming carbs has some answers. For Zuzu Thorns, get blood work to see where you are deficient and having issues. Protein is the only macronutrient that has been consumed or needed. Low carb will raise testosterone and thyroid function. Absolutely. My new job at the Steakhouse AP has not started yet. They're in construction right now. I decided to leave my other job early because I needed some time to spend with family. I needed some time to help Katie get some stuff moved in. We're finally getting stuff on the walls the way they should be. We're finally getting some furniture in the house. It's an eclectic mess out there. It's not going to look as fancy as some of the houses like you see with Dr. Baker and all the beautiful furniture. It looks like they're in a furniture showroom. Mine's like your house probably in a lot of cases. We got a lot of hand-me-down furniture and things that just all mix and match, but we're getting it put away for the first time finally. And this has been a nice time to be able to do that, especially with the holidays. I got to go see a Dolphins game not too long ago. That was fantastic. I'm hoping to be able to go down to see the Titans game. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that would be cool. The Dolphins-Titans game. Questions for fasting. As a type 2 diabetic, is it okay to fast for 36 hours and what do I do if I feel like my blood sugar feels low or lightheaded? I'm not the best person to ask on this one. I would say look up Dr. Boz. Dr. Anita Bosworth has some great information out there on fasting. Dr. Jason Fung is another one who has some stuff on fasting, and I'm willing to bet they address this for type 2 diabetics. But my experience hasn't been there, but I will get better at knowing information like that, I promise. Appreciate it, Scott. Glad to have you here. By the way, one of the reasons my voice is so hoarse right now is I just made a long video where I did a lot of talking. And if you want to check out tomorrow, I got a video coming out on the food pyramid where I review one of the videos done by Dr. Paul Mason. And I was actually hesitant to make the video. It's a lot of times I'm hesitant to make something because I think, people already know this. They've already seen this. But I found it to be very enlightening. And I think my commentary came out very good. So keep an eye out for that coming tomorrow. Curious about kefir, however you pronounce it. At night, 4 to 6 made from goat's milk. Going to make some and test it on my gut. I've heard good things from a lot of people. I just stay away from it because I don't really like to experiment all that much anymore. But I know a lot of folks are big on kefir or kefir, however you pronounce it. You're welcome, Mr. Sinok. Welcome to the party, Ivy. Glad to have you here. 71. Happy birthday. Billy Boy's 57. Carnivore 90 days, down 35 pounds. Feel great. Better than I have in 25 years. Yeehaw. Absolutely. Good answer there, Matthew. If your liver is still producing glucose on carnivore, just keep doing carnivore until you get fat adapted. Do you only eat grass-fed beef? No, I don't only eat grass-fed beef. I have tried to switch to only grass-fed beef, but buying whole cows means you're going to have a lot of hamburger. And at some point, I just got to have some ribeye. And it also, I can't get cows fast enough after I finish one. There's not one ready because he's a small local rancher that does a really good job at raising great beef. Grass-fed beef, by the way, is a real mixed bag. I'd say about 90% of the stuff you're going to find out there is awful. It's not raised properly. They're not feeding the cows. They're not eating tall grass. They're not getting the carbohydrates they need from the grass. You're going to get tough meat that often doesn't taste very good comparatively. Whereas if they're eating good, healthy grass, tall grass, they're being moved from paddock to paddock regularly, it's going to make a big difference. But even still, it's hard to find somebody that can supply enough meat for this way of living unless you're okay with eating a lot of burger. And I'm not. I got to have my ribeyes, baby. I tell you, it's something. Their fat to meat, fat to protein ratio is beautiful. And since I've been adding a little bit more fat, it seems like it's helping. I don't know because I've been thrown off by the numbers from Thanksgiving, but I'm going to keep doing this experiment. And then I'm going to go back to some regular suet, rendered suet experiment using some tallow from suet as opposed to the Wagyu beef fat that I've been using and see if anything changes in my blood work numbers, my blood sugar and my ketone numbers comparatively. But I think I got to get through this period after having had that splurge on Thanksgiving with several dessert foods. Chris agrees on the Wagcorf. He's the one that told me about it. He loves it. So much so that I did it the other day and my gallbladder let me know. Yeah, that can happen. It is like whipped frosting without a tremendous amount of sugar. It tastes so good. But because of that, I try to treat it like a treat. I've even taken carnivore crisps and dipped them into it as a topping to eat with the carnivore crisps. It's really good. And I put it on top of the ribeyes. It melts like butter. Oh, it's so good. When I'm not fasting, how many meals should I eat? Eat when you're hungry. That's the best thing I can tell you. That's what I do, because one of the things I've noticed after fasting for a while, though, is I'm not nearly as needing of food after eating in the early part of the day as I was at the beginning. I have this hard time at night where I get those cravings for things that I don't normally want to eat, or, times when I don't normally eat, times when it's very easy to go grab a piece of cheese or something that I don't want to be eating. I haven't had those this past week, and that has been wonderful. But eat when you're hungry. That's the best thing I can recommend. Now, some people say that you should eat a little more than, because you don't want to deplete yourself of eating the food that you need to power your body. So don't limit yourself. But if you eat when you're hungry, I don't think you're limiting yourself. You're listening to your body. But don't cut back because you're trying to lose weight, because it's going to put your body into a starvation mode where you feel like you're not able to get food, and then it's going to start to store anything that comes along, and that's not helpful. Matthew agrees. Listen to your body. I eat OMAD and some days too mad. Same for me. Eat when you are hungry. A fast will help you know the difference between hunger and cravings. Absolutely. Very good advice. How do you convert all the lab tests from US to UK? Bit confusing hearing all the results, as it is way different to what is in New Zealand. Best thing I can tell you, Ivy, is I'll do a better job of trying to do that, especially when I do the 8-week video. I'll try to get, if I can figure out the numbers on that. I know it's like MMOLS over there, and here it might be milliliters to deciliters, but I'll try to get some of that worked out. Dr. Boz covers that. So look up Anita Bosworth, Dr. Boz's channel. She goes into a lot on that. Thank you, Overcoming Carbs. I don't even think about stuff like that, but I'm so thankful for people like you that point these things out. The likes do help the channel. Having people here helps the channel. Having all the comments helps the channel. So I appreciate you guys for what you do, because the more you help the channel, the more people I can reach, and the more people we can get healthy and happy and start turning this system around. Yes, our brain does need good cholesterol. Your brain is about 20% cholesterol just in its makeup. So cholesterol is not something to be afraid of. Somebody who asked earlier about cholesterol being an issue. Yep, I can relate to this one. Bro B 3030. My wife did carnivore for a couple of months, then stopped. She feels so terrible now. She's picked a day to start keto and work back to carnivore again. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate you being here all the way from Scotland. Alan Leertz says, my LDL is 364 and I'm proud of it. All other markers are perfect, including BMI. And I bet you feel great. So that's fantastic, Alan. Hold My Beer says, started carnivore 9 months ago, lost 50 pounds. I am 65 years old, do not take meds, and want to keep it that way. I agree, and I feel the same way when it comes to taking meds and keeping it that way. Best I can tell you on this one, Wax, when it comes to your triglycerides still being high, is a lot of times people tell me they're doing carnivore, but they're eating a lot of other things that I haven't eaten and gotten these great triglyceride numbers. Eating cheese can have an effect on that. Eating butter. There's a number of things that can play a role. The only way you're going to know for sure is to really strip it down to something like Lion Diet, where you're only eating ruminant meat, water, and salt. Check your numbers after doing that for 6 weeks or 8 weeks or something like that. And then you can bring some of that other stuff back in, one at a time, by the way. Don't start bringing it all in, because you won't figure out what's a problem for your body. Get your numbers checked again. If you start to see your numbers spiking up, maybe that's not for you. Maybe some of the things that other people eat on carnivore isn't for you. Our bodies are different. We react to different foods differently. We have different food allergies. So there are some things that could be an issue on your diet that are not on my diet. I do. I eat all that fat, Glenn. I don't leave any of it out. How tall am I? I am 6'1". Amen. I love brisket fat. It's one of the reasons I love the brisket flavored carnivore crisps. They're just loaded with it. All right, here's a question. Have you found any seasonings like paprika, garlic, chili powder, etc. to work for you on carnivore, or are they detrimental to the protocol? A lot of people do just fine with them. Because of my gut issues, I decided a long time ago when I had seasoning on my meat, it caused pains, it caused digestive problems. I just decided to leave it alone. Plus, I love the way salt tastes on meat. I love the way my meat tastes cooked with salt. When I use other things, it causes problems. Now, I do use smoked salt, something that I've been getting into for about a year now. And smoked salt is wonderful. I get these from Redmond, and this is actually a gift for one of my family members. The one back here is a gift. And smoked salt has been really good. They don't use the liquid smoking method where they get the salt with some kind of liquid that has other stuff in it. They just smoke the salt. And oh, there's a super chat. Let me check that out. They just smoke the salt and get the flavor of whatever's in Chef Blend, cherry and hickory wood smoked infused to the salt. And I get that barbecue flavor without having to use any type of seasoning. They've got another one out right now called apple pecan that is recommended for dessert flavors and for chicken and other stuff, you know, because Redmond's not all about carnivore, but it has been a staple on my carnivore diet, and they've been a wonderful supporter of the channel. I have links in the description that you can use to order. Great time during Christmas to get good prices on this stuff, by the way. But I love the way the smoked salt tastes, and I haven't needed to go back to spices. As a matter of fact, back when I used to use marinades and I would try people that did their fancy marinades on steaks, most of the time I thought, this tastes awful. Why don't I taste meat? Why doesn't it taste delicious like a steak is supposed to taste? I love the flavor of meat, and salt really brings that flavor out because it soaks up all that moisture in the meat, and then when you're cooking it, it releases it back, and you get a beautiful, delicious, juicy steak. When you're cooking it in an air fryer, it even keeps more of the moisture than when you're cooking it over a flame, and then you get that flame taste when you use the smoked salt. It's fantastic. But hey, to each his own. If you like the spices and they're not causing you any discomfort, stick with them. Let me check out that. There we go. All right, let's see. Here's one. I think there were two. Sorry, I didn't answer you earlier. Harleyvore Mike, super chat, $2 from Harleyvore Mike. Appreciate that, Harleyvore. Let's see. There was another one. Derek Hines. Derek Hines is one of my patrons, people. Please give him a round of applause right now. He's been there for a long time, and I appreciate you, Derek. $4.99 super chat from Derek Hines. Just wanted to say hello from Northwest Florida. Glad to have you here, brother. Glad you could make it for the live stream. Oh, there's another one. Got a super sticker from Corrine Lemereau. $2.99 CA. I'm not sure what that is, but hey, it's not about the amount. It's just when you're doing things that help support the channel, I really appreciate it because it does make it easier for me to do this. I assume that's pronounced Karen Lemereau. Hands doing a fist bump. There you go. And let's see if there were any more. Okay, let me go back again. I got to wrap this up pretty soon, so I'm going to try to search for any more questions here that I missed. I'll show some comments while I'm searching through the questions. Thank you, Patty. Thank you again, Overcoming Carbs. You're like my moderator today. I don't have one normally, but I appreciate you. Yes, I will be going back to the shaved head. I don't like having this, but I wanted to periscope up and take a peek and see if anything changed. I feel you, Dutch Carnivore, but I love it. I love actually having a bald head. I never thought I would. Yes, this is something Mr. Sinek points out. Addiction and peer and social pressure make it difficult to stay on track with a carnivore diet. That's why we're here on YouTube. That's why we've got all these influencers coming out and sharing their stories and getting together with you this way, because this is all we got right now, guys. This is a wonderful way for us to support one another. There are occasionally carnivore meetups, and like we mentioned earlier with KetoCon, there's ways to get together with people. But thank God for the chance that we have to be able to share the stories, to be able to go on a place like my my Facebook group page and share stories with other people. I keep that page private so that it's just between us. It's not between all your friends to where you're going to get flack from everybody when you post something. And then I have the Facebook page for Ferrigno Freedom also, which is a more public place where we can communicate. There's the family coming home. So it is wonderful to be able to have the support, because you feel like you're all alone in this world sometimes when you're trying to do this and you're fighting against friends and family. And don't be upset with them. They've been programmed just like we were before this way of eating. It's about helping people break free from the matrix. People don't want to break free from the matrix. It's going to take example. It's going to take something a lot better picture than it was in the movie when they broke free from the matrix to be able to do it. And the picture is when you get healthy, when you get in shape, when you're happy, when your depression's gone, when your anxiety's gone, when you don't have to go to the doctor all the time, eventually people who love you and know you are going to want to join you. And it's going to take that type of example, that leading by example, to change this situation for us. And you're going to find some people are going to listen. It's almost like proselytizing. If you're a believer like I am and you want to share the message of the Lord with people, you don't go around pushing it in people's faces. You don't force it down their throat. You look for people who are looking for the truth and you offer it to them. When they're asking you what the truth is, you have the truth to offer. And that's what you look for. And don't let the naysayers get you down. Don't let the scoffers put you aside and cause you to feel like you're doing something wrong. Keep doing the research, and you're going to reinforce your thinking with the information that's going to tell you their information is what's wrong, not the information that I've learned. And that's been my experience, and I hope you'll find that's the same experience. The more you do research, the more you dig under the cover of all this stuff that we've been told for political reasons for so long, the more you're going to realize it's the same thing that's going on today, where you got people claiming to be the experts, to be science itself. And then you find out a year or 2 or 3 years later that they were completely wrong, and they knew it when they said it. Yeah, I can understand why. It's nice to have something readily available. Low carb Boca. I didn't even know anything about it. I'll have to look into that. But $400. Woo! I guess it's just something to put on such a big an event like that. I don't even know if they pay these speakers. They didn't pay me anything to go to KetoCon last time. I was just thankful to have a free ticket because of Carnivore Crisps helping me do that. I don't even know if I was supposed to mention that, but it is what it is. How much do you weigh now? I weigh, last time I checked, it was yesterday or the day before, I was 187. But like I said, I'm doing the muscle work too. So I don't expect it to go necessarily down to 176 again. I was doing a lot of high speed exercise back then too, and I was doing a lot of lifting. So it's possible I could get down there, but it's not about a number. It's simply about being comfortable in your own body, feeling healthy, looking healthy, and being healthy. Yeah, that's true. Because grass-fed doesn't necessarily mean grass-fed all the time. The cows I get are grass-fed all the time, unless they have some sort of issue where the grass all dies off. But because it's in South Georgia, in the very southern part, very close to the Florida border, it's rare that they're not going to have the grass to eat, because there's a lot of weeds and things out there too. He has a very good horticulture going on where there's a variety of different things that can thrive even in the winter. So they always have a lot to eat. But most cattle ranchers who raise grass-fed, even if they're doing it the right way, they may have to supplement with some grain or some other feed because they just don't have grass growing at that time of year because maybe they're too far north and all the grass is dying off. That's not bad. Those are good numbers. I think about this all the time, Mr. Synock, especially when I pick my kids up from school and I see them with their friends and I see them in parties and doing not Thanksgiving, but Halloween. I wouldn't say it's normal, but it's normal for you to have a reaction to getting those stimulants and poisons out of your body. Now, going cold turkey on coffee is probably worse than going cold turkey on alcohol because your body is used to having that caffeine boost. And a lot of times you're going to get headaches when you quit coffee, cold turkey like that. And that can cause you to have other problems too, as far as your emotional response. So, especially if you haven't healed the problems that are causing you to have panic attacks and anxiety. Yeah, and the alcohol in beer a lot of times is even worse because not only are you getting the detrimental effects of alcohol itself, but you're eating barley and hops, something that a lot of times is very high in carbohydrates, causing your body to have all the problems we've been talking about. Have you had a DEXA scan yet? Now that I am where I want to be weight-wise, it helps me track progress watching fat go down and lean muscle mass increasing. I did back in April when I went to KetoCon, and it was after I had put on the weight after my dairy experiment and changing jobs and all the things that might have affected my weight gain. But I wasn't displeased with it. If you go look up my KetoCon video, you can see my DEXA scan results. Here's a question. What do you think is the deal with some people who say they're on carnivore long term but show little results compared to you who have had major results? Our bodies are different. The amount of damage that's been done is different. What you're recovering from is going to be different. Your organs may have different, there's genetic differences. There's going to be differences. Not everybody's going to have the same results, but ultimately you're going to see health improvement. Even the ones who have mentioned that where they haven't lost weight have told me that they typically feel better. Then there's the ones who say that they don't feel better, but they're still losing weight. It takes time. As far as the long-term ones, people who have been doing it 3 years plus, I don't get a lot of people saying they haven't seen results yet. It's just over maybe a period of months. Those are the ones that I've heard most of that from. I'm not saying there aren't any out there, but our bodies are different, and we're going to react differently to different things. All right, I got another super chat here. I think this is the recent one. Oh, there's been a couple of them. Goodness, I hope I didn't miss anybody. Mary Endersby, super chat, $5 from Mary Endersby. Thank you, Dante, for everything you share with us. Thank you, Mary. I appreciate you too. JMP at home says, Dante, are you still drinking Soleil water? Could I use it exclusively? LMNT or Element is getting pricey, and how much do you drink? I get a lot of leg cramps taking 3 Element per day to avoid them. Thanks. I used Soleil water, or I added salt to my water for about the first year, and then I started using Soleil water for about a year. I was probably using more salt than was necessary, but I added it to almost everything I drank, at least 80% on average, probably more than that for the first couple of years. It's only the past year that I felt that I just don't feel like I need that much salt. So I started cutting back, and I noticed that I still had the energy that I was looking for. But when I first tried to get off, try to reduce the salt and see what would happen, I lost energy too fast. And that was about 1.5 years in. But after 2 years, I noticed my body is acclimated a little better. Now, once I started fasting, I found using Soleil water again to be very beneficial because the electrolytes are helping me when I'm not using the extra fuel from food to power my body. And it tends to help me not be as hungry when I'm fasting. As a matter of fact, I've got this. You know what? This one doesn't have any in it right now. No, it does. Yes, it does. I put in 2 ounces of Soleil water in here. And for those of you who don't know what Soleil water is, I have a video talking about that. I would encourage you to look that up because it'll give you a lot more information. But basically, I add 2 ounces of super saturated salt water to my roughly 1 liter of club soda. And it makes it taste delicious, for one, and it gives you electrolytes. It's going to vary depending on how much you need. I mean, some people need a lot more. Some people don't need any. Some people just need a little. I would experiment with it. You'll figure out what works for you. At some point, you're going to feel too like, I just don't need any more salt right now. Don't do it that time. That's what worked best for me. Another super chat. Wow. I don't know what SEK is, but it's 50 of whatever it is. Just joined your Facebook group. Let me throw it up here. Pending. Been carnivore since 28th of April, 2022. 56 years old. 77 kilograms. Feeling great. Screw it. Get up and do it. I agree. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that. Doesn't matter what the amount is. I'm just thankful for it. Thankful for your support. Hey, Will Oliver's here. The last one to comment. Been carnivore for over 3.5 years now, and every aspect of my life and health has improved. It's good to see you again, brother. If you guys haven't seen Will before, I did a carnivore conversation with him several months back. That was really inspiring. I encourage you guys to check that one out too. Don't forget, I got that video coming out tomorrow. I got to get ready for my wife to come home because we got some things we got to do this evening. But I will try to make these Q&As a weekly thing very soon. Once I get my schedule normalized again. I'm still not getting my sleep schedule straight yet, but I'm glad I've got these few weeks between leaving the last job and starting this new one. That's going to be a lot more regular. That's going to help me have a better schedule working with you guys. And then it won't be just random live streams whenever I feel like it. Excuse me. Checking to see if there were any more questions there at the end. But I got to run, guys. I appreciate you being here, and I hope it wasn't too short, but I will do it again soon, I promise. Don't forget to check out Redmond Real Salt at the link in the description. And I've got links for everything I use in the description. People ask me all the time, what medicines, what supplements are you using? What cooking devices are you using? I got to where I answered those questions so many times that I just started putting them in the description of every video so you guys can know what's going on. And as you get to the newer videos, you're going to see the more current information. If I stop using something, I usually take it out of the current videos. So that way you get an idea of where you would be with whatever it is I'm doing or whatever it is you're interested in trying. And all of the links do get me a small commission, whether it's through Amazon or whoever I'm affiliated with. But I'm going to tell you right now, I get a lot of requests from these companies to be an affiliate for them, and I turn about 99% of them down because I'm not interested in representing a gaming company or somebody who's selling some product that I'm not going to use and I'm not interested in using. Like recently, I gave Keto Chow a try. I do like their fasting drops, but I haven't found any value in anything else that they make. I'm not denigrating them as a company. If you like Keto Chow, I say do it. I've found Relight to be my answer when it comes to electrolyte mix, and the stuff that I use at Keto Chow, I would go through too fast, and I just didn't see myself reordering it, so I pass it on to you. You know what? It's going to make me not a lot of friends in this community of people who sell these products, but I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to help people get happy. At least I'm not here to make friends with them. I am here to make friends with you because I want to be able to help you get happy and healthy and feel better and get the weight off and get your life together so that I can live in a world full of people who have got their act together like I've finally been able to do for the first time in 50 years. Well, I appreciate you guys being here. I'll see you next time. I appreciate all the comments, all the likes, and you guys take it easy.
If we pay extra, could we maybe get some grease or fat?